si grand nombre. Et je recommence parce que j'avais oublié qu'il fallait qu'on enregistre. Comment ça va tout le monde? Je suis content de vous voir ici en si grand nombre. Mettez du feu. Partout. Partout. Est-ce que je ne vois pas assez de feu là? On veut du feu. Merci, Annick. Yes, there we go. Aujourd'hui, pour notre Rhino Run, c'est une journée très, très spéciale. Je parle pour moi personnellement, mais je pense que pour Mick aussi. Aujourd'hui, j'ai l'honneur de vous présenter notre légende. Quelqu'un qui est avec Prove It depuis le tout début, depuis même avant que ce soit public. Quand Bryon Underwood il a eu l'idée, il a eu l'accès au produit, il a invité une petite poignée de personnes autour d'une table pour avoir la première discussion à propos de cette business-là. Et aujourd'hui, la personne qui est avec nous était là. Quand j'ai commencé dans la business il y a 5 ans, et ça fait 5 ans au mois de mai, et là, cette semaine, ça fait 5 ans que j'ai eu mon premier événement à Montréal, où ce qui, lui, il est venu en tant que rang 8 à l'époque pour venir parler. Nate était un rang 4. Et on a fait ça dans une petite salle à Montréal. Bryon est parti de l'Alaska pour venir à Montréal pour être avec nous il y a 5 ans, puis nous aider à partir le Canada. Maintenant, il a le rang de légende depuis quelques années. Puis, si on fait des Rhino Run, c'est parce que c'est ce que lui, il faisait à l'époque. C'est ce qui a fait qu'il s'est rendu où ce qu'il s'est rendu dans la business. Puis là, on a la chance de l'avoir avec nous aujourd'hui pour venir partager sa sagesse, sa connaissance en business, et toute son expérience. Oui, comme on m'a dit, un original Rhino. Donc, je ne prendrai pas plus de temps. Je vais laisser la parole à Bryon. So, Bryon, take it away. They're all yours.
Yeah, well, you got to translate for me first.
I can do that.
I gotta imagine there's something about in there about you meeting me in Quebec, or yeah, a little bit, or
yeah. So I spoke about you being in the original handful of people that BU introduced the business to, even before it was a business.
Yep.
And that you've been there since all that time before Prove It was public. That 5 years ago this week, you came down to Montreal. We had that event. Yeah. And you were at the time, I believe, at rank 8. Nate was a rank 4. And I remember that, actually, I just remember that you had brought a pack of Max, and we were all going crazy because we still didn't have Max in Canada.
That's right.
And
man, you got a good memory, man. You got memory's way better than mine, but yeah, that's oh man, it's crazy because I can't even believe you said it's 5 years ago this week or this month.
This week, I saw it pop in my Facebook memories like 2-3 days ago.
5 years ago, that's insane. Like I can't even remember what happened 5 weeks ago, let alone 5 years ago. But anyways, well, it is awesome to be here with all of you Canadians. Like it's just, in years, you got to understand, I live in Alaska, so I feel like we're closer together than everybody else, right? So I think we got a little bit in common. But in all seriousness, I gotta first give a big shout out to Mick, because I don't know if you know, but this dude is a squeaky wheel. Like, he just does not stop. He does not give up. He does not. And I love it because I see a lot of myself in him because of just his tenacity. He won't give up. Like, you could tell him, you could try to beat him away with a stick, you could try to stop him at all costs, and the dude doesn't give up. So big shout out to him for just being a squeaky wheel and constantly staying on me, because sometimes, listen, there's people that reach out, but they reach out because they want to hand out. They want someone to hand them, to give them something, to do something for them. And really, it's the people, and you can tell right away because they'll ask one time and then you don't hear from them again, right? Or maybe they'll ask twice and you never hear from them again. But when someone proves themselves constantly, right, follows through and follows up and constantly, so if anything, y'all absolutely deserve the best of the best because of those that you have that are leading charge. So with that being said, I'm super excited to be here with y'all today. I'm very humbled to be here with y'all today, because biggest thing I could tell you is that I kind of have a couple different things I want to say, but here's the thing I don't want to do. I don't want to try to jam everything into 30 minutes. What I want to do, and my commitment to Mick, my commitment to all of you, is to be here along with you along the way of this Rhino Run. So every couple weeks, I'll make a commitment to be here with you so we can talk about not more, today I want to talk a little bit about, Mick specifically asked me to talk about a little bit more about my story and maybe how it can relate to each and every one of you in your journey or where you're at. And then we'll maybe talk a little bit more in the future about technique, about some thought process, about some application in your business, things that are going to help you to continue to go and grow and take yourself to the next level, right? To where it is that you set your goals, where you want to be. So here's the thing. I think one thing that's missing truly is that I don't think we share our stories enough, because it's our stories that relate to other people, for them to say, wow, if you can do this, I can do this, right? Or if you have the same back. Listen, when I started my industry, so when I started in this industry, just so y'all know, I was in the Marine Corps. I was 23 years old, and I was just a young, ambitious, like I knew that the military was not going to be my, my be all, do all, like that wasn't going to be it for me, right? I had ambition. I was excited. I sat down in a meeting, and this is important because I thought about this for the last couple of days when I knew I was going to share with you guys, but someone sat me down and showed me a lifestyle. Does everyone understand what lifestyle is? Does everyone understand what that means? You understand the difference between a lifestyle and a living, right? A living is what you do. Like it's just what you, it's what you do. It's a profession. It's something that you do to put food on the table, to put lights, on in the house, to put a roof over your head. It is not, a living is something you do to pay the bills, essentially, right? Or maybe you've had some formal training or schooling or whatever. A lifestyle is something that you don't turn it. Here's the way I define it. A living is something that you go do during the day. You turn it on. It's like a light switch. You turn it on and you turn it off. You turn it on and you turn it off, right? Usually it's one of those things that if you bring your work home or you bring your living home, your spouse doesn't really like it or no one else really likes it because maybe they can't relate to it, or it's just, it's usually it's not, most people, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say this about everybody, but most people that do what they do for a living and you say, do you love what you do? They'll say, yes, they love what they do. But if they were given other options to do something else, 9 times out of 10, they would do something else. You know what I'm saying? You always challenge people to say, I love what I do. I love what I do. I'm like, would you do it for free? And then it's like, oh, maybe I don't love what I do so much, right? But the point is lifestyle is this, and this is what it was for me. It's time and it's money, right? It's time and it's money. Because here's the thing. I personally know a lot of people that make a lot of money. And I mean a lot of money. But here's the thing. They don't see their family. They don't have good relationships with their spouse. They are constantly there's always something, right? Like they don't get to enjoy the things in life that we all, I think, look forward to enjoying, right? But they make a ton of money. So they trade all of their time to make a whole bunch of money. Does that make sense? Then we have people in the opposite. I know a lot of these people too. People with all the time in the world, but they are freaking broke. You know what I'm saying? Just broke, flat broke. They can't do anything. They're literally hostage. They're handcuffed because they're so broke. They have no money. So what is lifestyle? Lifestyle is the combination of both time and money, right? What is a vehicle? What is something that can provide you with money and then time to be able to actually go out and exercise with that money, right? It's that combination. And here's the thing. When someone sat me down when I was 23 years old and I watched like a presentation, I watched an opportunity, I watched, a business that could actually provide me with that. Because here's the thing, in the Marine Corps, I was going to make a bunch of money and I was going to have a lot of time, right? Because it was kind of the worst of both. I didn't have time or I didn't have money. I looked at other things out there. I looked at other businesses out there. And the thing is at 23 years old, I mean, y'all probably know if I want to go start a franchise, what's that going to cost me? Right? Like at 23 years old, or even most people I know at 30 some years old or 40 some, they don't have an extra $500,000 laying around to invest into a, Subway or what. I don't even think you get a Subway for less than $1 million. But the point is that I didn't have that many options. You know what I mean? And it was at that time that I saw a real option for a real opportunity, an opportunity that allows you to multiply your efforts, that allows you to multiply your dreams, that allows you to multiply, everything essentially, multiply your income. And the biggest driver for me at 23 years old was I saw this guy that eventually became my mentor, and I saw the way he lived. I saw the way he woke up every day with his kids and he spent time with his family. It's like it was so attractive to me. But here's the thing. What I didn't know is that I was committing to something at age 23 that I would not yet experience until I was age 36. Do you know what I'm saying? I did something for, what is that? I did something for 13 years on complete and total faith. I was building my, I was building my barn well before I got any horses. I was building my, I was building my house well before there was anybody to live in it. You know what I'm saying? Like I committed early on, and that was the thing that drove me. Like that's the thing. There's something inside of Mick, and I don't know, I've got to know Mick over the years, but here's the thing. Deep down, if I peel back all the layers, there's something inside of that dude that's in here that I don't know what it is, but if something awful was to happen, he would always course correct. He would always come back. There's something that drives him. That's the reason why he won't quit. Do I think it's his family? Yes, but I think there's other things too that are inside that just won't allow him to quit. I was the exact same way. So I say all that to tell you this, is that you first have to figure out what is that thing that you want, right? What's that burning desire? What's that, what is it inside of you that, no matter what happens in your life tomorrow, you'll still pursue that thing, or you won't be detoured from that thing, right? That's what you first have to identify. And I identified that a long time ago. And when I identified it, I had to hold on to it. And then I started learning how to make goals that led me to that thing, right? If the goal is to hike to the top of Mount Everest, you understand that you ever watched any documentaries or anything about people climbing Mount Everest? Here's the thing. You don't just like go to the base of Mount Everest and climb up. What are there? There are multiple little checkpoints. There are multiple stations, and you move from station to station. So the point is that all of you are here right now for a reason. You're spending your time today on a Friday at noon on here for a reason. Like, I don't think that any of you want to waste your time, right? You agree? Nobody wants to waste their time. So if you don't want to waste your time and you're here, then that means you ultimately want something, and you have to identify what that thing is, and you have to keep it in your focus. But here's the thing, that ultimate thing that's deep down inside of you, that's the tip of Mount Everest. That's the very top of the mountain. What you have to learn to do now is set goals that get you to that ultimate place, that get you to the top of that mountain. And that's what it is. It's not, most people think it's all or nothing. It's like people when they work for exercise and working out, they want muscles overnight. They want a six-pack overnight. They want to look amazing overnight. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's little points, right? It's 5 straight days of exercising, or it's 10 straight days of eating well, or it's, it takes time, but you gotta create those little checkpoints in the way. So one thing that we'll talk about in the future is setting goals that ultimately get you to that peak, get you to the top of the mountain. But because there's an old adage, and I think it's in the book, Think and Grow Rich, but Zig Ziglar says, how do you eat an elephant? Well, I've never ate an elephant, but if I was going to eat an elephant, I wouldn't want to, you can't do it in one bite, right? It's little bites, it's little pieces at a time. So when you do things like you're having attract conversations, you got to understand that the conversations you have, the goal is, hey, how many conversations about prove it? How many conversations about, this, the lifestyle, the product, the whatever. How many conversations are you going to commit to having on a daily basis? How many conversations you got to commit to having on a weekly basis? We're all about wanting freedom, and we want our house, and we want to be, retired, and we want all these big things. But you got to understand, there's a lot to be done in between here wanting it and here having it, getting it, accomplishing it. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing, Eduardo, it's what you just said. It's 5 years. I cannot believe it was 5 years since we've been to Quebec. 5 years. 5 years is a long time. You know what I'm saying? And you said I was just a rank 8 then. I have no idea what rank I was then. But you understand what had to happen between day one and even the time that I came there. So that would ultimately mean what? That Prove It was operating at that time for what, a year and a half? 1 year, give or take, probably with our pre-launch. Yeah. So yeah, it would have been a year and a half if we started May of 2015. So point being is that I've come a long way, and there's a lot of things that have happened. But just a couple of things to relate to y'all. Number one, people ask this all the time. Well, if you've been in business forever, and hey, maybe you were in the network marketing space, before, blah, 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 blah. You just brought people over. You were just an instant success. Listen, I look at my business today, and here's what you have to understand. Less than 20% of my overall business was from pre-existing, like people that knew me before. And here is even the thing where you guys came from. You guys are direct descendants, if you will, of Abigail Epps, right? Abigail and I were in this industry together, but we never worked together before. You know what I'm saying? We were never in a working coaching relationship. We just knew each other, or we were associated each other from the past, right? So when we got started here, that's important to know, because so first off, it's like, hey, do I have to have, in order to be successful here, does that mean I had to be successful before in this industry? And the answer is absolutely 100% not. Just so you know, I still have over 5 to 10 women that I coach today that never participated in network marketing before, or never had success ever, not in just business, but not even much in their careers before. And they all make over 6 figures a month. Not 6 figures a year, over 6 figures a month. You understand what that means, right? Right? That's six digits a month, every single month. Imagine making more in a month than you ever have in a year, and then making it the next month, and making it the next month, and making it the next month, and the next month, and the next month. The point is, it adds up, and you can really definitely get to those goals and those outcomes that you set for yourself. So number one is this. You don't have to have any previous experience. And sometimes, to be honest with you, if I look at how I've wasted the most amount of time in my business, it was with people that I thought had potential because they did this before, or they were in the industry before, or blah, 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 which really, honestly, they just brought in bad habits, bad thought process, and 9 times out of 10 wasted my time. So don't think that you have to treat somebody better than somebody else, or give them more priority, or we do it all the time. We find somebody, we're like, man, this person's going to be awesome. Listen, you let that person determine if they're going to be awesome, right? Don't you make them awesome. Listen, I try to make people awesome all the time, but they don't want to be as awesome as I want them to be. You know what I'm saying? This is important, super important. That's number one. Number one, you don't have to have previous experience. Number two is you don't have to have necessarily any crazy type of credibility, right? Like, you can earn your credibility here through your hard work, if you're willing to work, if you're willing to be consistent. The other thing was, and this may be something that intimidates you guys too. Well, Bryon, you're here today, or you're in the position, or you're a legend because you got started, as Eduardo said, before the company was even a company, before Bryon Underwood even launched the company. Here's what I want to tell y'all. There were 12 people in our initial meeting where we sat down. There were 12 people in that room. 12. Okay? Y'all hearing me, right? 12 people. Out of the 12 people that sat in that room, and one person actually was a really good friend of mine, so I know him very personally, really good friend of mine. The other one was Abigail, that I remember. The other one that I remember was a dude that he's not even around anymore. And the other guy that I remember, his name is Michael Rutherford. Have you ever heard of Michael Rutherford? Yeah, y'all heard of Michael? So listen, out of 12 people, and here's the thing, I don't remember who the other 8 people were. And here's the thing, you won't know who they are either. Do you know why? Because they quit, because they never got started, because they weren't tenacious. They weren't like, Mick hounding every day and not giving up. Like these people, you don't know their names because they never did anything. You don't know their names because it's not only did they quit, but they never really even got started. So the point is that even if you were there at the beginning does not mean that you were going to be successful, right? Number 3, and this gets into the dynamic and thought process of building a team. Understand this, your whole goal should be, when you're building this business, is to find people that are better than you, to find people that will build this faster than you, to find people that are more coachable than you, to find people that intimidate you because they have more credibility than you. You should be looking for people that are going to whoop your ass, essentially. Right? That's what you should be looking for, because that's what the reason I have the business I have today is not because I tried to find a bunch of people that I could manipulate or would listen to everything that I say. Listen, when you find somebody that wants to challenge you, like literally challenge, not only challenge you from a point of competition, but challenge you in the things that you say and you do because they think they have a better way, you found a potential leader. You found a winner. Just so you know, that's a good indicator. Some people in here, you get a little freaked out. You're like, this person's not listening to what I say, or they want to have their own meeting, or they want to do whatever. Hey, it's okay. That means I can coach. They want it. That means they're a winner. That means they're a potential leader. That means I can coach that. Let me tell you this. You cannot, and maybe you have to, if there's any translation needed, let me know and I'll stop. But check this out. You cannot steer a parked car. You know what I'm saying? You cannot steer a parked car. If your car is in park and you're in there trying to steer it, do you know what you look like? A complete dumbass. You look like a dumbass. Why? Because could you imagine in there, if you're in there trying to steer, your car is sitting there and you're trying to steer. That's what most people in this business do. They're trying to steer a parked car. They're trying to say things without doing them. You got to listen, to be coachable. You can't be in a parked car. You have to go, and it's not always going to be right. Like people say all the time, how do you have success in this business? You just do something. Well, what if I don't say it the right way? Well, do you know how you learn to say it the right way? By saying it the wrong way first 10 times. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. Have any of you ever dated before? You ever dated? Yeah, dating, right? Well, here's the thing. Guys, the first time you asked a girl out, was it perfect? Was it awesome? Was it like, man, you were just like Mr. Gigolo? No, not at all. You're like, I just sounded like a complete idiot. It's the same thing when you talk to somebody for the first time in Prover, you talk to someone about business. You know what you have it perfectly memorized in your mind because you were coached on how to do it, right? Like, this is what you say, this is the question you ask. But instead you say, hey, have you ever heard about ketones and ketosis? And then you're unwilling, you don't just stop and wait and be patient for them to say yes or no. You say, and oh, by the way, you can lose a bunch of weight and have a ton of energy and you can make a whole bunch of money and you can retire and you can whatever. That's like literally walking up to, and guys, girls, I'm just using an example for me, but that's like walking up to the girl and saying, never met her before, just saying, hey, will you marry me? Like, could you imagine walking up to somebody? I mean, there could be a very desperate person out there, maybe one in a million, that says, yes, I'll marry you. And that's the first thing you ever said to them. But I want you to think about that. How many of you are trying to rush the conversation and not be patient with the conversation? You got to let it develop, and you got to yourself learn, how do I connect with people? How do I relate to people to get them to the next step, right? To attract them, to connect them, and to put them in a position to be able to use our products, to be able to potentially work with them on a, on a team scale, on a team type basis. So that's, I'm just trying to relate, because here's what I'll tell you. When I got started here, let me just be real and raw with you for a minute. When I got started here, I had success previously in this industry, and then I lost it. And I mean, I lost it hard. So then I was kind of mad at the whole business, the whole arena. Here's what I said. I said, I am never going to get involved in network marketing again. This was 2 years prior to starting Prove It. So listen to me. I said, I'm never going to get involved in this industry again. At that point in time, I had spent 10 years in the industry, right? And I said, I'm never going to do this again. Because another thing is, I thought, hey, I had never started a traditional business before. I thought maybe the grass was greener and there were better opportunities out there on the other side. So I proceeded to get with a business partner. I got with my stepfather at the time, and we launched a traditional company. And I will tell you this, it was nothing like I thought it was going to be. It did not go nearly as fast as I thought it would go. It cost way more money than I thought it was going to cost. It was tough. It was really, really hard. And at one point, I got to the point where, we really did really well, and I sold really well for like 2 weeks, and we were out of our budget. We didn't have any money. There was no way to go execute on what we did. So I was at this point, and then the company couldn't pay me. So when Brian Underwood called me and he said, hey, just curious, man, because we had been talking a little bit, we kept in touch, and he said, hey, man, are you familiar with ketones, ketosis? Like, literally the same question I ask thousands of people to get to the point where I am today is the same question he asked me before Prove It ever launched. Before he was thinking of some other dumb product that we would have never even been here today if he would have launched that product. Trust me. Like, he doesn't tell you the other stuff that literally he was entertaining before ketones. So he literally asked me, hey, what do you know about ketones and ketosis? And I said, I know when I was, training for a show that at some point I had to cut out my carbs and get into ketosis and get my body fat really low. But for the most part, I thought it was kind of a negative thing. I didn't think it was a good thing, right? He said, what if you had ketone? What if you could put your body into ketosis by just drinking something or taking something, and you don't have to worry about doing all that crazy diet and all that stuff? And I said, that would be something I would be interested in. That would be something I would be excited in. Here's the thing though. I didn't know at that time, because I was so broke, guys. I mean, I was broke. I could not pay my bills. I couldn't make ends meet. I literally had to move out of my apartment at the time. I bought a travel trailer that hooked up to my truck right at that time, because this business, it was middle of winter. It was cold. It was, I don't even know what it would be in Celsius, but it was, like in the teens, in the single digits Fahrenheit, right? So I'm super cold, wintertime, living in this travel trailer, basically this mobile trailer. I'm super broke. I got a business that's failing, and I got someone offering me an opportunity. So here's what I did. He said, dude, we're going to do this. I flew out. I was in that meeting that I just talked to you about with 12 people, flew out to California, said, I see the opportunity. This is awesome. But at that point, when I said, I want to do this, this is awesome. Just so you know, I had no idea how it was going to happen, because I had no money. I had done a bunch of business that I couldn't even get paid on. So I had to make a decision. So what did I do? I went on total faith. I got in my vehicle. I drove my house across the country to California. I got a job. Check this out, because here's what I knew. I couldn't do this with no money. I couldn't do this being broke. How would I even get started? How would I go drive to share the product with somebody? How could I ever buy product, right? So listen, this is something that some people don't know, because there's a lot of people that you heard, they got in, they committed, and they made it happen overnight. Guys, I had to go get a job, but I got a job to fund my business. You ever read the book, The Multipliers or The Outliers? Or, I mean, there's a lot of good books out there that you can read that talk about how to responsibly build a business. You know, you think it's about going all in, but really it's not. I promise you, it's about being smart about your approach. It's about being smart about what you're doing. So I went out, I got a job for 9 months. And here's the thing, I hated the job. I freaking hated it. I looked forward to every day, and I stayed up every night asking people, what do they know about ketones and ketosis, just so I could get out of that stupid job. So from May 20th, 2015 until November, mid-November, I worked a job that I absolutely hated. I worked this job from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 6 o'clock at night. And then I went out and I built my business from 6 o'clock at night until 2 o'clock in the morning, every single day, until I had enough people that were excited, until I had a big enough team like you guys are putting together here that said, hey, let's do this. And then my team needed my time. So I was able to replace my income and start giving my time to my team. But the thing is it was a journey. Like most people don't get in network marketing to say, hey, let me get another job, or most people are not willing to make the commitments that it's required to have success at a high level. Let me say that one more time. Most people are not willing to move out of their comfort zone. They're not willing to delay gratification on things. They're not willing to do the immense amount of work that's required to be super successful at a high level. Because even today, I have to pinch myself every day when I can just stay at home with my kids all day. You know, what was my schedule for my schedule for the last 2 weeks was, I was working on a project here that I'm completely funding with my own money. Then I went on a week-long elk hunt in Montana. I came back. The next day, I didn't have to worry about stressing out going to work. What did I do? I spent the entire next day with my kids. I held my little baby girl. I held my son. And literally, we just spent the entire day together, because I can do what I want to do. I can spend the time. I can do with what my time and my money that I want to do. Does that make sense? So what am I going to do after this week? Next week, we fly to San Diego for a week and a half. Then from San Diego, we fly to Costa Rica for 3 weeks. Then as soon as I get back to Costa Rica, I fly back to Montana for a week. Then I'm back here for 5 days, and then we fly to the East Coast. And then from there, we're going to take the kids to Disney World. Then from Disney World, we're going to take them to see their family in Kansas. Then from Kansas, me and my wife are going to go for a week somewhere to some exotic location where I can just date and I can just focus and I can just be with my wife. Then we're going to come back and we're going to travel somewhere else warm. And then we're going to spend Christmas with our family. Then we're going to fly back here and go snowboarding for a month. And then we're going to find some beach house that we can go rent for a month. And here's the thing, just so you know, it's not weird to me that I'm able to do all this stuff now. Why? Because when I was broke, when I wasn't getting back in my house till 2 a.m., when things weren't going my way, when my biggest person in my business quit, when I got in arguments with, my leaders, my coaches, people that, that were guiding me, when all these negative things happened, I always thought back to the things that I want. I always thought about, what is it that I want to accomplish? What are those bigger things? What's the lifestyle I want to have? Always. Right? So biggest part of this is understanding this. And I'm going to sum all this up, make it simple, because listen, I don't tell my story often, so it's a little weird and it's a little broken up. So Mick has really challenged me this morning, because I usually I usually just don't tell my story. And like I said, I think it's something that all of you need to do more. In order to relate to people, listen, if you want to connect with people, if you want to pull people, you first have to connect with them, right? We're always trying to pull people where we want them to go. Hey, come join my team. Come take my product. Come join my team. Come break rank, come go pro. Come go circle champions. You want to pull people to come where you're going, right? But listen, you can't pull people. Listen, I can't pull this. unless I hold it, and then I can pull it. If I don't connect with it, what does that mean? If I don't connect with it, if I don't grasp it, I can't pull it. So if I don't ever connect, this is my hand, this is connection. If I don't ever connect, how do I move this? How do I move this if I don't connect? I have to do this to move it. What am I doing? I'm pushing it. You know, does that make sense? I'm pushing it. If I want to pull it, I got to connect with it first and then I pull it. So here's the thing. If you want to pull people, if you want to influence people, if you want to move people, you have to connect with them. How do you connect with them? The number one golden rule of this business, it's called relationships. You have to create relationships with people. You have to, and you have to find common ground. Do you think every single person that's in my business was a prior military member that likes to hunt and likes to, live in the woods in Alaska? Like, no, I have people on my team that are nothing like me at all. So what did I have to do? I had to find some common ground. I had to find some interest, some things they were interested in that I was interested in, where we could create some relation, because maybe we didn't want to live the same place and maybe we don't have necessarily the same lifestyle, but hey, they have goals XYZ, they have things they want to accomplish, we have maybe similar pasts, we have whatever. My point being is this, is you have to get to know people. They can't just be a transaction, they can't just be a number, they can't just be a name on your pulse when they order their product. Like, you have to get to know them. You have to get to know them. And how do you get to know people? You spend time with people. You get in the car with people, right? You go to events with people. You rub arms with people. Here's the funny thing. I just saw that. I see he's been on here for a while, but I see Nate Justice on there. How you doing, Nate? It's been a while, buddy.
How you doing?
Good, good. So I was just gonna say this. So I know Nate, even though Nate and I haven't connected for a while. I still know Nate better than I know all of you. Do you know why? Because I've spent more time with Nate than anybody else. I've had more conversations with Nate than anyone else. I've had more arguments with Nate than anybody else. I've had more disagreements with Nate than anybody else. But it doesn't always have to be good. Some of the people that I've had the biggest with are some of the people I trust the most and are the closest with. I don't need to talk to them all the time for me to understand that, hey, we respect each other. We're on common ground, right? We have each other's backs if things really ever get to that point. But you got it. The two things in this business, what are two things that makes this business go? Number one is relationships, and number two is leadership. It'll never change. There can always be pretty ways to attract people. There's always going to be different social media. Oh my God, are you on TikTok? Are you recruiting people on TikTok? I don't know. I've never recruited anybody on TikTok. I've never recruited anybody. I don't know. Here's my other point is, you don't have to be a social media person in order to build this business. I wasn't. I didn't. You don't have to be my point is that you don't have to be anything more than what you are right now. Every single one of you that are on here right now have the skill set, have the ability to go out and to absolutely be a legend, to crush this thing. And maybe your goal is not to be a legend, and that's fine. But whatever your goal is, I promise you all have what it takes right now. You just have to be willing to do the work. You have to be willing to have the conversations. You have to be willing to build relationships with people that aren't like you, that don't think the way that you do, that don't have the same common interests that you, that are not, listen, it's not that if I was a single mom, I wouldn't try to go out. I think it's very easy to relate to other single moms. So I would focus on trying to relate to some other single moms or connect with other single moms. But that's not going to stop me from connecting with an older married couple, or it's not going to stop me from, connecting to someone that's completely out of my age range or my demographic or whatever. Right? You got to be willing to create relationships with people. And then as on your journey, you will start to become a leader, because in this business, you're going to recruit other people. You're going to bring other people in, and they're going to be looking to you for leadership. But here's the thing. Leadership does not have to be intimidating. Leadership does not have to be like, you don't have to study all these books to be a great leader. Should you be reading books? Yes. Number one tip I'll give you right now. If there's nothing else that I said today that makes any sense, or you didn't listen to any of it because you don't care, you're just ready to get to tomorrow's Rhino Run because you're like, this guy is just an idiot. I don't even want to hear him anymore. If this guy can go, legend, I'm gonna crush this, right? If you don't listen to anything I said, you got to listen to this. The reason that I believe I was as successful as I was, as fast as I was in some instances, was because the amount of books that I read. How many of you have ever read the book Think and Grow Rich? How many of you ever read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People? How many of you ever read the book The Art of People Skills? How many of you have ever read the book? I mean, I can go through the books, but the point is if you want to get better at relationships, if you want to get better at connecting with people, you need to educate yourself on relationships, on connection, on people skills. Listen, here's something I'm very proud of. Do you know how many times I've got a speeding ticket in the last 10 years? Who in here's got a speeding ticket in the last year? A traffic ticket? No? Oh, y'all are liars. Yeah, right. Okay, there's more people holding their hands up. Check this out. Here's something I'm very proud of. Now, how many of y'all have been pulled over a bunch in the last year? Because I have. But check this out. Since I read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, when I was 26 years old, I've never had a speeding ticket since. And I've probably been pulled over 30 times, 40 times. There is a secret. There's a trick in that book of how to have people skill with that police officer that will keep you from ever getting a ticket. Isn't this crazy? I know I'm being totally off the wall right now, but I learned something in that book that's paid me over and over again. And it's funny because every time I get pulled over, my wife's like, oh, great, here we go. You're going to get a ticket. And I use the same thing. I use the same submission technique. There's a specific technique in that book that it tells you, and it works every time. And what's funny is that the same people skill things that I've learned in these books, I use when I'm talking to somebody. I use when I'm training somebody. You know, I don't think that you need to go to college to have success, but that doesn't mean that I don't think you need knowledge and education to have success, because I believe you need to have knowledge and education to have success. I just don't believe you need to have formal education and knowledge to have success. Does that make sense? So that means that there are books that you can read. That means that there are audios that you can listen to. You know, it wasn't until I read Grant Cardone's book, The 10X Rule, that I was not afraid to overwhelm someone. Because some of you right now, you've sent messages to somebody asking them what they know about ketones and ketosis, and after one message, you gave up. After one message, you gave up because you think you're bothering them, because you think you're bugging them. And here's the thing. They never said, no, I'm not interested. And here's the thing for me, what did I learn out of the 10X rule? A non-reply is not a no. Do you understand? A non-reply is not a no. It's just a reason or a signal to try again. So I ask again, or I follow up again. Some of you are just a couple more follow-ups away from having the next biggest promoter, and I'll approve it. I promise you. You just need a little bit more. You just got to do a little bit more. You got to be a little bit more thorough. You got to follow up a little bit more. You got to be tenacious in your follow-up. You know, Mick, believe it or not, but the way you follow up with me is the way I follow up with most prospects. I don't let it go. I just keep going. I keep asking, right? All right. So I know we're getting a little short on time. And bottom line is this, I don't know what rank I was 5 years ago. I don't know where I was at in my first. Here's what I do know. There's a couple things that I remember distinctly in my business. Number one, for the first year and a half, Abigail did way better than I did. My initial challenge in this business came from below, not from, I didn't care about what Michael Rutherford was doing. I didn't care about what anyone else was doing. Abigail was kicking my butt. So my motivation and my competition actually came within my own team, right? So it is okay for people in your team to do better than you. You actually want a whole bunch of people on your team to do better than you. That's number one. Number two, second thing I remember is that all my relationships were not great. I went through a lot of, ups and downs and whatever. That's all part of building a team, building a community. Remember this, if you don't have drama in your team, you don't have a big enough team yet. Let me say that again. If you don't have drama in your team, you don't have a big enough team yet. It's okay. Look forward to the drama that comes. Listen, with responsibility, with leadership comes a lot of responsibility. No way around it. Number three is focus on your goal and don't worry about ranks. Ranks is a great way to just get a good gauge on where you're at, but it's a checkpoint. It's a checkpoint on your way to the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? You check in and you move on. You don't check in and let that be your badge of honor. Listen, when I was a rank 8, the more I celebrated being a rank 8 was the longer I was going to be a rank 8. I didn't give a shit about being a rank 8. My goals did not really correlate with ranks. So my point is you hit your rank. It's a great way to pace yourself. It's a great way to get a little bit of recognition for your team. Just so you know, when you hit a rank, check this out. When you hit a rank, it's not even for you. Good leaders know when they hit a rank, it's just a way for them to deflect the success or the recognition they're being given back onto their team. Right? So when I hit rank 8, I didn't hit rank 8. It's Abigail hit rank 7, right? It's Sylvia hit rank 7. It's, X amount of people. Like, my point is it's other people's success that help me have success. And I want to deflect that recognition back to them. Okay? So remember that in order to move on to where you want to be. And number 4 is don't compare yourself to anybody else's success, because your journey is your journey alone. Right? Don't look to the left and the right and compare yourself, because the goal that they may have is very different than the goal that you have. And if you're trying to compare your outcomes and where they're at to where you're at, I promise you it'll never turn out good. It'll never be the way that you want it to be. And let me sum up by saying this. How do you build this business? It's super simple, right? Super simple. Number 1 is you do volume. Here's my summary, my breakdown for today's call. Number 1, you do volume. Volume starts with you. If you don't eat your own cooking, you're never going to have success in this business. You have to take your own product. You have to be a product of the product. You have to look it. You have to speak it, right? If I sent somebody to your, if I sent a prove-it officer to your house right now, would he be able to convict it? Would he find enough evidence to convict you of being a prove-it promoter? Would he find all your prove-it clothes? Would he find your prove-it hats? Would he find your stash of ketones? Would he find a whole bunch of empty ketones in your trash can? Would he find a whole bunch of shaker bottles? Would he find a whole bunch of clothes that now you don't fit into anymore because you've lost so much weight with ketones? Would he find a whole bunch of old energy drinks and old energy pills that are never taken because you don't need them anymore because you have ketones? My point is number 1 is volume. You have to first master volume. You have to master being a product of your own product, right? Listen, if you have 100 people, so let's say right now that you're only doing 50 BV. You're doing 50 PV and you have one customer, and that one customer is doing 50 BV. That means your business, your personal business is 100 BV business, right? 100. Now let's imagine you have 100 people you bring on your team overnight, and everybody's going to do half. I think everybody's going to do half of what you do, but let's say everybody does exactly what you do. So what is 100 times 100 BV? Right? 100, because 100 BV, and then 100 people that jump on your team, and they all do 102. That's 10,000, right? 10,000 BV. Would you all be happy with 10,000 BV in your business? Maybe you would, but listen, what if you yourself, you yourself are maximizing your product? What if you're a product of your product? You're taking ketones twice a day. You're using the other products. You're constantly marketing other products. You're constantly using products to give to other people for samples, for 5-day experiences, for 10-day experiences. You have extra 10-day challenge kits, right, at your house. So you're doing yourself 300 to 500 BB in business. You have 5 to 10 customers that are all doing 100 BB in business. My point is this, is what if you yourself, your own personal business, is doing 2,000 BV every single month? Then you add on 100 people that do exactly what you do. Now what's 100 times 2,000? What does that business look like? So number one, volume is up to you. Don't expect to bring other people on your team to do the volume. You have to be an example of your own volume. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people I get on my team, they're like, I'll start buying a bunch of products. I'll start buying a bunch of ketones when my team starts buying ketones. Guess what your team's never going to do? They're never going to buy ketones because they don't believe in you, because you have no belief in yourself. You have no belief in your own business. So number one, you have to be an example of what you want, right? How many customers you have. That's important too. So your personal example of volume, right? Number one is volume. So be the example of what you want to replicate, what you want to multiply. Number two is people. So number one, you master volume. I don't want to bring people on my team until I master volume. So number one is volume. Number two is people. 1 + 2 = 3, which is ranks. 1 + 2, volume plus people equals ranks. You understand this? If you add up volume and you add up the amount of people that are doing volume on your team, you start breaking what? Ranks, right? You go from rank 1 to rank 2 to rank 3 to rank 4 to rank 5 to rank 6, circle of champion, to rank 7, pro champion. And I know there's a bunch of middle ranks in there too. But number one is volume, number two is people, number three is ranks, and number four is leadership. Number four is leadership. One, you have enough volume, enough people doing volume, and enough people breaking ranks, you're automatically going to be put into a position of leadership. You're going to be able to lead other people. And that's how simple this entire business is. Volume, people, ranks, leadership. That's it. That's the whole business. Don't make it any more complicated than that. And they add up, right? They totally add on top of each other. Volume, you be an example of volume. Number two, you add people that follow your example. If you be an example of volume, add other people that are doing the same thing, you'll start breaking ranks. When you start breaking ranks and you start building enough teams, you'll start being put in a position of leadership. And then you start learning how to lead other people. Then eventually lead other leaders. So it's really that simple. So Mick, I know we got 3 minutes, so sorry I went a little bit long. That was a little broken up, but hopefully if you've got anything from this, you've got that you can absolutely crush this and keep it simple. And we'll talk more about technique and we'll talk more about thought process in the future, I promise.
I loved it, seriously. Like, we just stopped right now and we were so pumped about everything you just said. It really was something that was missing in my life. So thank you for doing that. It was for me first, and then I really enjoyed that all the team could see you like that, and because your words are so powerful to, I don't know, plant seed inside of us. So for me, your language was really powerful, and now with the ability to hear you again like that, it's make my arms very warm. So Ed, I know you took a lot of notes, but I think it was too much for just one recap. So I think we will do a recap in French Tsunami. So with your notes and stuff like that, so we can take our time, because that was too much for a quick recap. If you wanna, I'm like too many golden nuggets. It was more about the feeling. It was for like step along the way. So thank you for that, Bryon. And I don't know if you have a little bit of time to take some questions.
Go ahead. Yep.
Yes. And I don't know if Nate, you want to say something, because I think you got you finally found some Wi-Fi and stuff like that. So if anybody want to ask a question, Ed can translate, or me, we can translate it. But just like unmute yourself.
Well, no, I was supposed to intro Bryon, but I think, you know, the guy speaks for himself. And if you guys know the level of success this guy's had, like, it doesn't happen by accident, right? So everything that he's telling you right now, just be very, very intentional about going over your notes. When you guys do your French recap, try to hit it all, because he laid it all out on the table for you. No secrets, right? He's literally telling you, giving you the keys to the kingdom, so to speak. And, you know, I owe Bryon a debt of gratitude too, because the whole relational thing, right? It's in the age of social media, we become so reliant on you know, connecting via text, connecting via social media. And Bryon really taught me the value of getting into people's lives, getting on some planes, right? Getting in people's living rooms. And I think that's a real powerful, I don't think anything ever makes up for that. So thanks a lot, Bryon. I appreciate that. And it's great to see you again, buddy.
Great to see you too, Nate. And it's so like that one thing that Nate just highlighted that maybe you passed through if it was just in the notes is so important. Like, I hate to relate it all back to dating, but like, could you imagine how weird it would be to only, and no offense if any of y'all are in this position right now, but could you imagine if you met somebody online and like that you were intimately like into, and it stayed online forever? Like, you never actually got to meet that person. You never actually got to hug that person and talk to that person face to face. Like, that, in my opinion, that's how I've always related this business. Like, you got to get in people. You got, like, you know, you got to get in people's living. You got to get in planes. You got to get in front of people, right? You got to date people, truly, like in person, not online through just Zoom and whatever. Like, the depth of the relationships that you create are going to be based on really building a real relationship face to face. Like, don't be afraid. In the age of everybody's trying to keep you locked at home, get your ass out. Get into people's living rooms, shake hands, hug people, get germs. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, go ahead.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Bryon, for me. And as Mick was saying, I did take a fuck ton of notes. I think I have more notes from today's call than from a week of Rhino Run calls. There are so many nuggets there. And we're going to do a French recap separately because, as Mick was saying, that's a lot of stuff. But I just want to thank you for taking the time and being with us. That means a whole lot to me.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you guys let me come, let me share. Does anybody is there any one or two questions? Like, somebody literally, I'm always trying to sensitive to the point that literally somebody could have just got on this call. They may be like on a thin thread of staying in the business or getting out or moving on or whatever. And they just want to ask that one question. Like, there's just one thing that they got on to ask. I want to give you a chance to ask that question. If there's somebody on here that you're like, I just gotta know. Any questions?
Hey Bryon. Okay, so I'm in the car with Mickey and everybody, so as a bug on my English is not perfect, but
it's perfect.
It's perfect. I can understand it, so it's great.
So I don't have question because it was so precise, and how Ed and Mick and Nate said, you said too much golden nuggets. So it's just a comment to say thank you for your time, and thank you for all the experiences and the story that you tell to us. It was unsparing. I'm checking to do prove it all time, full time. So it's a very good energy for me. So thank you.
Awesome.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, love it. I think they are shy. I can't see everybody, so. All right.
All right. Well, if there are no questions, then Mick, we need to find the next time that we want to connect.
Get to you.
I'll get into
you.
so there's a couple things that I think would help y'all tremendously, and it's understanding the momentum cycle. It's understanding the steps that you can take within. Because here's the thing: truly building your business is going to be based on just little bits of momentum. Like you want to create momentum for yourself, and it's small little commitments. Like, listen, when I did my first bodybuilding show, it was a 90 to 120 day commitment of like dieting like I never dieted before, exercising like I never exercised before. If I look back at every big jump I made in my Prove It business, it was because I did like what, Mick, when we started this way back in the day, it was a 90-day Rhino Run. It was getting everybody focused and getting yourself committed and getting everybody accountable to each other. So that's one thing I'll say. Commit to this 90 days. Like, commit to it. And here's the thing. You're going to miss vacations during that. Like, during the 90 days, I didn't vacation. I didn't like take time off. It was 90 days of a focused effort of doing things that made me very uncomfortable. But I will tell you that 90 days of total focus in this business will keep you busy for a year after. Like, you'll create so much business, so many conversations, so much team in 90 days. But here's the thing. You can't bullshit yourself during those 90 days. It can't be half-ass effort. It can't be just, I'm just going to get on the call. It has to be, you get on this call. Now, listen, you say that you're motivated after this call. You say that, thank you for your experiences. You really motivated me. Listen, I'm calling bullshit. I'm saying that's bullshit if you don't immediately get off of here and go message 5 people. Go follow up with 5 more. If you don't put what you heard today into action, I'm just telling you, this was a fluffy little hour of a fluffy little motivation. Like, that's not you. That's not what you want. That's not what this is about. As soon as you get off here, you have to act on it. You have to follow up with somebody that you haven't heard back from. You have to create a new conversation. Some of you right now, you know there's a handful of people that just intimidate the hell out of you. You are so scared about what they'll think if you ask them any questions about this business or about our products. They intimidate you. You're scared. Those are the first people that I want you to send a message to, that I want you to start a conversation with as soon as you get off here. Because like I said, this isn't a 90-day feel-good Rhino Run. This is a 90-day for you to personally develop and start kicking ass. So sorry, I've taken up too much of y'all's time today. So I'm gonna shut up, and Mick, we'll find the next date, the next time. We'll talk about momentum. We'll talk about a little bit more technique and thought process, and go from there.
And thank you. But I will get to you, so trust me for that.
Oh, I know, I do. I trust you.
You don't have any idea of how many messages that I've sent to Bryon to get him here since the last year, I think. So I'm very glad you came in that call. I'm really glad that you said it, because now I feel a little bit less guilty when I will come back to you and probably be the pain in the ass, and I was. So
it's amazing. Keep doing it.
Thank you for everything. Merci à tout le monde de s'être présenté avec toute votre belle énergie, votre belle vibe. Fait que, on se voit encore une fois demain, même heure, même poste, puis je vais vous donner des nouvelles pour le prochain Rhino Run de Bryon. Thank you, Bryon. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.